everyone, my name is Karen, this is my channel RatherBeReading, and today I'm bringing to you my November mid-month wrap-up. So far in the month of November, I have managed to complete a total of 11 things, which is totally awesome. If you saw my October wrap up, then you know that my reading had been really kind of kicking into high gear, and it definitely has continued into this first half of November, which is really great. But let's just jump straight in, and I'm going to talk about these 11 books that I've managed to complete so far this month. The first book that I managed to complete in the month of November is Hazed by Paula Weston. This is the second book in the Refame series. For those of you who don't know, Shadows, which is the first book in this series, was my absolute favourite book that I read last year, and I'm finally continuing on with the series, and I'm so glad that I am. This book was just as good as the first one, really. I gave this 5 stars just like I did the first one. I'm really, the romance in this is on point. I was really happy with how, torn the main character was kind of about things, that it wasn't, an easy road for her in this with, the decisions to be made. I found that really good. I love this, like I said, and the ending totally destroyed me, and I could not wait to pick up book 3. Like I said, I gave this 5 stars. The next book I completed was Deity by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I listened to this on audio. This is the 3rd book in the Covenant series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I did really enjoy this installment as well. Some characters in this installment of it really kind of take a turn. And I really respected Jennifer L. Armentrout for going there. She really does take some of the characters down a dark route, and I just respect her for being willing to go there with the characters. I ended up giving this installment 3.5 stars. The next book I completed is Lord Edgewater Dies by Agatha Christie. This is the 9th book in the Hercule Poirot series. This, I don't really have much to say about it. It was an enjoyable mystery, as are all of Agatha Christie's books that I at least have read so far. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. The next book I completed is This Is Where It Ends by Marieke Nijkamp. This is a book that I picked up to fulfill the challenge of reading a 2016 debut. This is a book that is set surrounding a school shooting. I did really enjoy this book. I found it to be extremely gripping. You just did really want to keep reading and kind of find out what was going to happen next and things like that. I did think the story had a few too many kind of romantic kind of elements to it, and there was one particular storyline that just didn't really get closure, but it was really enjoyable. Marieke Nijkamp wasn't afraid to kill people off. A lot of people die in this book. I mean, it's set around a school shooting, so I'm glad that she wasn't afraid to do that, because it would have been extremely unrealistic for everyone in this story to survive, because that's just not how things happen in real life. So I do really kind of appreciate that she was willing to go there. And I did enjoy it, but I did have some problems with it. In the end, I gave it 3.5 stars. The next book I completed was Entanglement by Dan Ricks. I read this on ebook, and I actually had no immediate plans to pick this book up. I was planning to read another book on my Kindle when I realized that when I moved into my new place, I never updated my Kindle to the new Wi-Fi. And as such, the recent books that I had purchased off Amazon had never downloaded onto my Kindle, and I was on the bus on the way to work, and so I didn't have the book that I was planning to pick up next. So I just went back to my Kindle and went to the very first page in my Kindle to find a book that I'd had on there for a long time that I hadn't read. As when I first got the Kindle, I went on a bit of a craze, and I purchased a ton of books off Amazon that were just on there for free. So this is one of those books. This book has a really interesting premise. It follows a kind of futuristic world where it has been discovered that each person has a half. They have another person that they are kind of destined to be with. It's their other half that they will meet on their 18th birthday. They go to the center for halves or whatever it is, and they meet their other half. Our main character, they've got a kind of psychic connection kind of to their half, to do with something kind of in the back their clairvoyant channel, which is in like the back of their head. And our main character that we're following is a male main character, and he has scar tissue that he doesn't know kind of what has caused the scar tissue, but it is interfering with his clairvoyant channel, and there may be problems with him connecting psychically with his half. It also is in the world, like there's things with the halves, like if your half dies, like you won't die immediately, but you will die pretty quickly afterwards. Like it's almost impossible to live. And that all people cares about, like once they kind of meet their half, is their half, things like that. And it's an interesting world and an interesting premise. Unfortunately, I just ended up having way too many problems with this story. Parts of the story were just really, really inconsistent. Not just with the plot and the world building, but with the characters and their motivations. They just did things like kind of in the second half of the book that I was like, it just doesn't make sense to me as a character that they would do that. And they also just did things that were so dumb. Like stuff that you were just like, no one in real life ever would do that when this has just happened to them. Like it just would not happen. And parts of the story were just like quite confusing as well. The overall like kind of enjoyment levels of it just weren't really there for me, because there was just like too much kind of going on and too much confusing stuff, and I was having trouble understanding what was going on, and I just didn't believe anything that was happening because I didn't believe that the characters would do what they were doing, that type of thing. In the end, I gave this 2 stars because I did really love the premise, and I think it's the type of story that could be really great if it was kind of reworked and character motivations and a bit more world building and stuff was sorted out. But unfortunately, in its current state, I just didn't really love it, and I gave it 2 stars. The next book that I completed was actually a graphic novel, and that was Lock and Key Volume 3, Crown of Shadows, I believe this volume was called. This was just as enjoyable to me as the previous 2 volumes. I really love the kind of character progressions that we're getting. I love finding out about all the different keys, and I just find it really, really enjoyable, and I gave this installment 4 stars. The next book I completed was Death Note Black Edition Volume 3 by Sugumi Ohma and Takeshi Obata. This is the 3rd volume, obviously, of Death Note. I did really, really enjoy this volume as well. I didn't like it quite as much as the previous 2 volumes, and I think that was mainly down to there's quite a lot of meetings kind of going on in this book, and I found kind of all of the meeting stuff started to get a little bit tedious, but I did still really enjoy it, and the ending was like super, super intense. In the end, I gave this one 3.75 stars. The next book that I completed was Shimmer by Paula Weston. This is the 3rd book in the Refame series. This was another awesome installment. It's probably my least favorite in the series so far. It was still really awesome. I gave this 4.75 stars. Like, I loved it, but it wasn't quite at that 5-star level for me. It was just, it was good. It had some slightly slower parts, but kind of how this ended, I am so pumped for the last book and to like find out how this all finishes up, because this is a 4-book series. I should definitely be getting to that 4th book in the second half of November, and I'm so pumped for it. The next book I completed was another one that I listened to on audio, and that was Elixir by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is book 3.5 in the Covenant series. I was a little bit thrown when I first started this one, as it has a different narrator. It has a different narrator though, because it follows a different perspective. So while it threw me, I did get used to the narrator, and I did actually start to quite enjoy him as a narrator. But like I said, it just did throw me a little bit at the start. The story also, it didn't follow kind of what I was expecting it to follow. I didn't expect it to kick off. It follows the events kind of following immediately the ending of book 3, and that's not normally what 0.5s are. Normally they follow some event that you didn't get to see that was in the previous book or something like that, but this actually follows events straight after that, and kind of is a bit of a bridge between book 3 and book 4. So that was really interesting. I did really enjoy it, and I gave it 3.5 stars. The next book I completed was Let the Right One In by John Avide Lindquist. I picked this up to fulfill the challenge of reading a book that was not originally published in English. This is a Swedish book. It is a vampire story. It follows a young boy living in Sweden, who a little girl around his age, around 12 or so, moves into the apartment next door to him, and there's something a little bit strange about her. This, I didn't know what, I've read a previous book by this author that I didn't super love. This was really, really creepy, really, really disturbing. Like, there was a lot in this that I just kind of didn't expect. Like, it was disturbing. Like, I don't know how else to put it. Like, I felt really like, yeah, like when I was reading it, because it was just like, it had some real fucked up shit in it, basically. I also didn't super love the ending of this. Yeah, I just didn't love the way it kind of finished off. I had some real mixed feelings about it. In the end, I gave it 3 stars. And the final book that I have completed so far in the month of November is Lock and Key Volume 4, Keys to the Kingdom by Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez. Again, I super loved this volume. I really just like how the story is kind of like unfolding. I've just been really, really enjoying it. The ending of this one was like, whoa, holy shit, like, where are we going to go from here? I really loved that. I did get a little bit thrown in this one that on a couple of pages, the art style was a little bit different, and I presume it was done intentionally because it did go back to kind of the normal art style, but it was just kind of thrown in occasionally throughout, and I just didn't like it. I didn't like the kind of change in the art style that kind of came in, and I don't really get why it needed to be done. I feel like it would have had just the same effect to just have the normal art style throughout, but that's just me. I'm not an art connoisseur or anything, so maybe it was just like too much and just went over my head. I don't know, but I did still super love this installment, and again, I gave it 4 stars, and I'm really looking forward to hopefully maybe finishing. I think I'll at least get to volume 5 in the second half of November, maybe even get to finish the last volume, volume 6, because I am super loving the series. So those were the 11 books that I have managed to complete so far in the month of November. As I said, I'm having a totally awesome reading month, which is really great. I would love to chat with you guys in the comments down below if you've read any of these books, if you have any thoughts, or how your reading month in November is going. Are you having an awesome reading month, or is it a not so great reading month? I would love to chat in the comments down below. Please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you want to see more from my channel. But that's all I have for this video today. Bye, guys.